This is not the past seen through rose-tinted spectacles.
It's a film with epic qualities.
This is not a romanticised view of the war.
It's a very beautiful and real story that I think has a lot to say to people today.
It is a love story, very much a forbidden love story. But I think that, for me, lives within the story of the radicalisation of a young woman. Somebody who begins the story as a mouse and she ends up as the mouse that roars. How somebody can be radicalised through the process of an occupation, and that's something that is replicated everywhere in the world.
You are defeated, and we are now in charge.
Our film starts during the fall of France, and so we enter the world as the exodus from Paris is happening, and it's very much a world turned upside down, and the rather bewildered population of the town of VOSE are preparing for the news that they're going to get a German battalion coming and even being billeted within their homes.
Madame Angelier, I'm Oberleutnant Bruno von Falk. You have been told to expect me? Madame?
We take the central story of Lucille, played by Michelle Williams.
Lucille Angelier, who's a very quietly oppressed, good wife of an absent French soldier who lives in the house with her mother-in-law, who's a very dominant personality.
Played by Christian Scott Thomas. They have a young German officer who's billeted with them, and she has a real awakening as she explores an awful lot of feelings which have been buried in what has been a rather short and unhappy marriage.
I see everything that goes on in this house. Please, he only asked to go into the garden. You should have stood up and left. Do you expect me to be confined to my bedroom anytime you want to be a faithful wife?
It's the story of how that person comes of age and ultimately, I think, becomes radicalised through the experience of a German regiment coming to occupy their town and a German officer being billeted in their house, who she falls in love with and ultimately then has to decide whether to go for him or to go for the country that she has grown to feel disillusioned with. It's a very difficult choice.
So why is it that whenever I see you, you're always on your own?
When do you see me?
The backdrop of the film is, again, looking at how the relationships of the rest of the characters of the village cope with occupation. And you just do get this growing sense of unease as we start realising how the war is going to unfold.
We'll have to get used to it, I'm afraid, along with everything else.
I think that's a really strong theme in the novel that I wanted to keep for the film, was this sense that what this foreign occupation did was engender a kind of class war, where it brought all of these tensions out and set people against each other in a very class-ridden and tense society.
Es ist wegen Offizier Bonese Aufenthalt bei uns im Chateau.
Kommt aus einer sehr wohlhabenden Familie. Ich lege großen Wert darauf, dass meine Leute entsprechend untergebracht sind.
Sicher, sicher.
Und alle Einwohner von VOSE unterstehen dem Gesetz. Egal, ob man jetzt Bürgermeister ist oder Viscount, das verstehen Sie doch, oder?
There are always wars going on, and of course times change and wars are very different now than they were in 1940, but you know, the ideas of human loss and absence and grief and how life continues is universal.
Gaston's unit is in a labor camp in Germany. Your husband is a prisoner of war.
I think any film that gets made about the past is only ever made because it says something about how we live now and has something to say and has a resonance. And obviously, you know, there are plenty of foreign occupations happening all around the world, of which we're part of, quite a few. But I think also the fact that it had such an immediacy in the way that it was written at the time again allows it, I think, to translate more easily to a modern audience.
We fought for what we believed in, and 4 years later, France was free.